Government is not getting value for money and is paying monies for no work done. The increasing resort to single-source procurement compromises the transparency of the procurement process. When monies are paid for no work done, as is the case in some of these judgment debts, it creates a liquidity overhang, as we call in economics. That is too much money which is not matched by output. And when you have too much money that is not matched by output, that money finds its way into prices and eventually into the exchange rate. It is also costly to the country in terms of the work that could have been done. You will recall, for example, that some banks in the country need a capital of 60 million Ghana cedis to meet the Bank of Ghana minimum capital requirements, which we had set before we left office. 60 million. Banks are trying to merge to meet the 60 million capital requirement. Some of the judgment debts paid for no work done could set up 2 or more banks that would provide small and medium-scale enterprises credit to help in their business. In the case of 2 such payments for these judgment debts, we could have built 756-unit classroom blocks at the current prices, just 2 of those judgment debts. And if we used more realistic prices, we would have built 1,500 6-unit classroom blocks. These payments were also more than the total amount, just 2 judgment debts that we know about, were more than the total amount allocated to the Ministry of Health and Education, excluding salaries, in the 2012 budget. The total amount allocated to the Ministry of Health and Education, the total amount excluding wages was 96 million Ghana cedis. There are 2 judgment debts which exceed that. The opportunity cost is very high. Mr. Chairman, I now want to turn to exchange rate depreciation. The Ghana cedi is currently in free fall and depreciating virtually on a daily basis. In fact, this is what you are seeing as a Midonyami exchange rate, because it is going all the way. The Ghana cedi has obtained the dubious distinction of being the weakest performing currency in Africa at this point in time. Interestingly, the NDC Green Book claims exchange rate stability as one of their unprecedented achievements. In an open economy with market determination of prices, exchange rate movements are the most important indicator of underlying macroeconomic fundamentals. As the saying goes, when in doubt, observe the exchange rate. The lesson from history for governments is that you cannot manage the economy with propaganda. In fact, you can engage in all the propaganda you want, but if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. The type of free fall that we are seeing with the cedi exchange rate is a vote of no confidence by market players in the management of the economy. Indeed, many market players presently are pricing goods with the expectation that the exchange rate is going to be 2 to 1. It is almost there. The scary part of this is that we are only just past the first quarter of the year, and we have 3 more quarters to go, and the situation could therefore get worse. This development is not fair to the private sector, and it is certainly not fair to Ghanaians. The slide you are seeing here shows the comparative cedi performance comparatively between 1997 and 2000. I want you to look at this carefully. You saw this major depreciation between 1997 and 2000. Now, maybe the speculators were here. Between 2001 and 2004, they suddenly disappeared. 2005 and 2008, that whole period, this is where we are. Now, 2009 here to 17th April, the speculators are suddenly coming back. Now, what I want you to notice is that the depreciation that we are seeing today is occurring notwithstanding very improved conditions. We have oil, cocoa, and gold prices going on. And this graph is very interesting because it shows you the relationship between oil prices, for example, and the exchange rate depreciation. You saw in 2000, when the oil prices were going up, you saw the exchange rate depreciated quite steeply over that period. In 2001 to 2004, oil prices went up similarly, but you saw the exchange rate maintained relatively firm. Where were the speculators? Now, the simple reason is that the macroeconomic fundamentals were firm. What is even more interesting is the 2005 to 2008. You saw the oil prices going up all the way to 147. And what happened to exchange rate depreciation? This is the lowest. What this evidence shows is that the economic fundamentals have been weaker during the period of NDC government. And just small shocks, negative or positive, can destabilize the economy. Mr. Chairman, I want you to listen carefully, ladies and gentlemen. What is amazing is that what is amazing about the state of our economy with this graph that I'm showing here is that notwithstanding the oil discovery and oil production, notwithstanding the increase in cocoa prices, notwithstanding the increase in gold prices, Ghana's gross international reserves today cannot cover, is less than 3 months of imports. It's actually 2.4 months of imports. Mr. Chairman, with hard work and the support of Ghanaians, I believe we can achieve this and move Ghana forward together.